Karl Brandt, was born January 8, 1904. He was born in Mulhouse in Alsace-Lorraine, present-day Haut-Rhin, in France, into the family of a Prussian army officer. He became a medical doctor and surgeon in 1928, specializing in head and spinal injuries. He joined the Nazi Party in January 1932 and first met Nazi leader Adolf Hitler in the summer of 1932. He became a member of the SA in 1933 and a member of the SS on July 29, 1934, appointed the officer rank of Untersturmführer. From the summer of 1934 forward, he was Hitler's escort physician. Karl Brandt married a champion swimmer named Annie Rayborn on March 17, 1934. They had one child named Karl Adolf Brandt on October 4, 1935. In the context of the 1933 Nazi Germany law called Law for the Prevention of Hereditarily Diseased Offspring, Brandt was one of the medical scientists who performed abortions on women deemed genetically disordered, mentally or physically disabled, or racially deficient, or whose unborn fetuses were expected to develop genetic defects. These abortions had been legalized as long as no healthy Aryan fetuses were aborted. On July 25, 1939, Brandt authorized the first euthanization of the Nazi eugenics program, that of Gerhard Kretschmer, a 5-month-old disabled infant. On September 1, 1939, Brandt was appointed by Hitler as co-head of the Action T4 euthanasia program, with SS official Philipp Buchler. Additional power was afforded Brandt on July 28, 1942. He was appointed Commissioner of Health and Emergency Services by Hitler, and was thereafter only bound by the Führer's instructions. He received regular promotions in the SS. By April 1944, Brandt was a SS Gruppenführer in the Allgemeine SS and a SS Brigadeführer in the Waffen-SS. On Monday, April 16, 1945, he was arrested by the Gestapo for moving his family out of Berlin so they could surrender to American forces. Brandt was condemned to death by a military court and then sent to Kiel. He was released from arrest by order of Karl Dönitz on Wednesday, May the 2nd. He was placed under arrest by the British on May 23rd. His medical ethics, particularly regarding euthanasia, were influenced by a German psychiatrist, Alfred Hosch, whose courses he attended. Like many other German doctors of the period, Brandt came to believe that the health of society as a whole should take precedence over that of its individual members. Because society was viewed as an organism that had to be cured, its weakest, most invalid and incurable members were only parts that should be removed. Brandt's explanation at his trial for his actions, along with his justification for ordering experimentation on human beings, was that any personal code of ethics must give way to the total character of the war. Brandt and Hitler discussed multiple killing techniques during the initial planning of the euthanasia program, during which Hitler asked Brandt, "Which is the most humane way?" He suggested the use of carbon monoxide gas, to which Hitler gave his approval. Hitler instructed him to contact other physicians and begin to coordinate the program. Karl and his wife Annie were members of Hitler's inner circle at Berchtesgaden, where Hitler maintained his private residence known as the Berghof. This very exclusive group included Eva Braun, Albert Speer, and his wife Margarete, Theodor Morell, Martin Bormann, Hitler's photographer Heinrich Hoffmann, along with Hitler's adjutants and secretaries. Brandt and Albert Speer were good friends, as the two shared technocratic dispositions about their work. Brandt looked at killing the disabled as a means to an end, namely as in the interest of public health. Similarly, Speer viewed the use of concentration camp slave labor for his defense and building projects in much the same way. As members of this inner circle, the Brandts had a residence near the Berghof and spent considerable time there when Hitler was present. Despite Brandt's closeness to Hitler, he was furious when he learned in April 1945 that Karl had sent Annie and their son to the American lines in hopes of evading capture by the Russians. Hitler charged him with treason, and Brandt underwent a summary trial and was sentenced to death. Only the intervention of Heinrich Himmler and Albert Speer saved him from his death sentence. Brandt was tried, along with 22 others, at the Palace of Justice in Nuremberg, Germany. The trial was officially titled United States of America vs. Karl Brandt et al., but is more usually referred to as the Doctor's Trial, which began on December 9, 1946. He was found guilty on counts 2 to 4 of the indictment. With 6 others, he was sentenced to death. Numerous pleas for clemency on Brandt's behalf were made by dozens of people, including representatives of the churches, such as the chairman of the relief organization of the Evangelical Church in Germany. Amongst Brandt's other advocates were numerous medical health professionals, such as renowned pathologist Robert Ruessel and the historian of medicine Paul Diepgen. Other noted petitioners included various other physiologists, pathologists, and surgeons. Ultimately, Lucius D. Clay, the governor of the American occupation zone in Germany, rejected all pleas for mercy. He confirmed the death sentence for Brandt, as well as those for his co-defendants, stating, "Regardless of what inner convictions Dr. Brandt may have held, he was directly responsible for much of the suffering and death caused to the unfortunate concentration camp victims chosen to be used as subjects in brutal medical experiments. In justice to these persons who underwent torture and death, I am unable to grant clemency in this case." Brandt and 6 other defendants were executed by hanging at Landsberg prison in Bavaria on June 2, 1948. While on the gallows, he said, "It is no shame to stand upon the scaffold. This is nothing but political revenge. I have served my fatherland as others before me." As he continued to talk, officials told him he'd run out of time. However, Brandt refused to end his speech. Eventually, a hood was placed over his head while he continued to talk, and he was hanged. He was 44 years old.